Whoa. Almost out on my laptop there. What's good? What's good? My camera's about to die already, so I'll try to make this relatively quick. Before I start this script, I'll say I'm kind of happy. I guess that stuff I was trying to do, I'm surprised it's kind of working. I guess there's a company now, and we have some work to do, which is pretty cool, and potential investors and things like that. So I'm actually surprised. Kind of stuff I wanted kind of happened. So that's not too bad. Thank you to all my business partners. I guess I won't name them specifically because they prefer to be I guess relative kind of anonymous, or identity not known so widely. But I mean, dang, for some reason I feel like that's gonna end up being pretty big, so I'm kind of excited about that. There's one big project we have now, and I feel like we're gonna have a bunch more. There's a lot of cool ideas, so we'll see what happens. That's pretty cool, but I talk about that stuff more in other videos. In this one, I'm gonna talk about economies around the world are currently witnessing a massive deleveraging. So word to Morphed Gamer for sending me this discussion topic and sending me the video that I watched. That was a great documentary about kind of some of the stuff about the world we live in today, monetary systems, etc. So at some point, you simply cannot keep taking on more debt without pushing too many people out of the economic game. Leveraging is when you use your credit or other assets to serve as a means for you to acquire more assets. And deleveraging is when, instead of taking on more debt, you buckle down, quite literally in some cases, especially in America, where 1/3 of people are pre-diabetic. 1/3 of adults are pre-diabetic, and 30% of adults are obese or something like that. So quite literally in some cases, you buckle down and start paying off existing debts. So economies as a whole can go through leveraging and deleveraging phases just like individual people can. A deleveraging is more severe than a simple downturn or a recession. It's basically more like a depression. This is when bailouts have already been tried, but they do not work anymore to stimulate the economy. How many trillions have we printed in stimulus? Fiscal and monetary stimulus have been tried, but the economy is still in shambles. This is what we're facing now in the United States and in many other countries around the world. People and countries have taken on so much debt to simply retain their standard of living. New debt is not used to innovate or do new things for the most part. It is mainly used to pay off already existing debt or to maintain their current living standards. Think about the Treasury bond market operations as I've detailed in earlier videos. The US government issues new debt to get money to pay off old debts. So this is happening on an individual and government level. In this type of atmosphere, it's very hard to create and market new things. So many innovations have to do more with efficiency than really groundbreaking stuff. I'm witnessing that a little bit in the company I'm working on with my business partners. And we can get into that a little bit more later. And I'll probably talk to them about that more later, because that was something I wrote in this script that, for some reason, it's kind of, that whole phenomenon is interesting to me, and I think there's a lot of things that go into that. But at this point, so many people have been priced out that I believe either it'll be war that changes this current landscape, as we saw in the Great Depression. The only thing that got the United States out of the Great Depression was World War II. So it'll be war that, and it's funny because Germany couldn't pay its debts, like because they were forced to pay reparations, and they couldn't pay that to several countries, and then those several countries couldn't pay off their debts to each other. So it's kind of funny that whole world war and like the lack of being able to pay the debts, how that ended up leading to a depression, which ended up leading to an over speculation first, and then that over speculation wound up in a depression, and then that whole depression ended up being, like, you could say the World War II alleviated the depression, like however you want to put it, but like at a great, like the Great Depression happened and then World War II happened. So I just find that super interesting. So it'll either be war that changed the current landscape, or simply enough people dying out that newer generations forget about the debt of older generations. And it's funny because you have World War One. Germany couldn't pay the reparations, so the countries that they had to pay the reparations to couldn't pay off their own war debts. And then you have a Great Depression after, and then World War Two. And then after World War Two, you have everybody, like people trying to create a whole system in which the losing countries don't have to pay off war debts. So then, like, they tried to avoid war that way. But then you end up getting the whole Marshall Plan thing coming out of it. So they end up like, so the U.S. says, okay, like we'll issue all these countries bonds, so then they can rebuild their countries, and then like they can pay us back over time. But then I don't really know what happened, right? Because then the U.S. has all the gold, but then we get off the gold standard for some reason. Maybe the U.S. just started overspending, because they could. Like, I know in the 60s they started overspending, and then they go off the gold standard in the early 70s, and then like you get the system that we have now that we're kind of reaching the end of. So this is just hilarious how like all this stuff kind of connects to each other. Like I was telling my friends earlier, like we're still trying to figure out like post World War II. Like this is still post World War II right now. And I was watching a video, a Tim Pool actually, where Steve Bannon was on, and he was saying how literally like 250 million people or something, like some crazy number of people died during that whole World War One, World War Two, and Cold War era. Like, you know how many like just young men and shit just died during that time? Like we're still trying to figure out like post World War Two. It's the whole world is still trying to figure out post World War Two. That's what I'm realizing. Like the older I'm getting, that really, I mean, it only World War Two was over in the 1940s, so it hasn't even been 100 years yet since that thing. It's barely been 100 years since World War One. Honestly, that ended in like 1919, I think. So it hasn't even been 100 years since World War One. So we're still figuring that shit out. Okay, so getting back to the script, both of those options I listed kind of sucked. Either waiting for people to die or war. Both of those options kind of suck, but it is what it is. That's why I try to ignore that and like get a team and like try to start a business. I'll talk about that later. And like maybe believe in God or something, I guess. I know some of you guys watching my videos don't necessarily agree with that one, but for some reason it like seems to work for me. And all this stuff that's happening, it's definitely not like me doing it. A lot of it is my business partners doing it now. But prior to that, like I'm someone who dropped out of school, and the opportunities I'm seeing now, there's no way that like I literally just I just like tried to ask God I mean, I don't know what else to say. I just tried to ask God for good shit to happen. Like, I had some things in my head that I wanted to happen, and the fact that they're happening now so quickly after me leaving school, there's no way that I can take credit for that. But it is what it is. Now I'll place the credit to my business partners probably, and also God, because I don't know, man. Especially if we end up getting as big as I think we're gonna get, that's nuts, man. But that is what it is. That's it for this one. I'll catch y'all later. Almost at 100 subscribers. Hopefully in a year I'll get to 1K. We'll see what happens. I can be more creative with it now that I have this other thing going on, and I'll probably end up getting money from that, it seems like. And then I can get new software, because my software is shitty, so I can't really edit it. Like, I can't even edit it as well as I was doing like a little bit ago, like a few months ago, because my software just got shitty. Because I paid for a lifetime membership, and I'm pretty sure they just fuck it up. Like, they don't update it as much for the people with lifetime. They want you to get that monthly word to the monetary system. But that's all good. If I could get better software, I'll start trying to put the music in and some of my sketches from processing in there again. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Alright, I'm surprised that camera didn't die. But I'll catch y'all later. Stay healthy. Stay tuned too, because interesting stuff's happening. And peace out, guys.